Hola, profe, bienvenida, buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Profe, buenas noches. Aún no ingresa nadie todavía.
Ok, vamos a esperar un momentito. Y arrancamos.
Buenas noches a todos. Les doy la cordial bienvenida a la clase de gramática para compartirles los parámetros de las secciones por videoconferencia. Las secciones se graban, pueden verlas nuevamente en la plataforma virtual. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien sus micrófonos y puedan activarlos cuando quieran hacer consultas o aportes con el permiso del docente. Le pedimos que mantenga su cámara activa. De no poder hacerlo, enviar su excusa por el chat de Zoom. De lo contrario, será retirado de la sección y le serán restados puntos en la valoración del docente. Mi rol como moderador es facilitar y apoyar en la parte técnica. Consultas por el chat personal o general. Les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para hacer sus anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo esta sección que tiene una oración de 2 horas. Bienvenidos.
Okay, so hello students. Today we are going to develop the reading number 2 from the module number 4. That is about the adverbial clauses. Is that? I am grateful to God. I'm happy and grateful to God for all that I have and for all that is to come. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. Time ahead, my candy. Review of previous classes. So the last class was about the noun classes. Okay. Noun clauses are dependent clause which function as a noun. A noun clause is a clause or a group of words with a subject and a verb that serve as a noun in a sentence. And nouns are the words used to refer to people, things, or places. Reading number 2, adverbial clauses. Adverbial clauses. Adverbial clause or adverb clause are groups of words with a subject and a predicate that function as an adverb in a sentence. Just like adverbs, they answer the questions when, where, how, and why to describe the time, place, manner, and purpose. Okay, and other ones that I mentioned throughout the explanation in the class. Okay, so uh, so remember that you need to develop this class, that we need to develop this class with the information that they can find in the class or in the reading number 2. So in the reading say that what is an adverb clause? An adverb clause are groups of words, subject, predicate, function as an adverb. And you can send this one, right? So you can find some important information in the reading. Like the meaning of a verb clause or some answers or questions such as what is an adverb clause, what is a component of an adverb clause, what is the difference between a clause and a phrase, or what is the difference between an adverb clause and adjective clause. And the most important thing here in information or in the reading, the different type or the type of an adverb clause. And the reading maybe provide you a lot of example and practice that you can develop throughout the information that you receive here in the class or in information that you receive in the platform or the videos, okay? And this guide or information help you get a better idea of adverb clause and how to use them in the sentence or the different sentence. If you want to make a sentence and try to know the sense of the information that you want to say. Okay, so let me start explanation. A sentence needs more than just an adverb. Okay, it needs more context to communicate the what, where, why, and how behind its main clause. And adverbial clause is an independent clause that modify a verb, adjective, or adverb in its sentence. Okay, in other words, an adverbial clause or adverb clause is a clause that does the same thing as an adverb. Okay, so an adverbial clause sometimes referred to as an adverb clause and a group of words, that together function as an adverb, as you know in the screen and as you can see in the screen. This means that the clause describes a modifier, a verb, adjective, or another adverb. Unlike other types of clauses, an adverbial clause is always dependent clause. This means that it cannot stand on its own as independent sentence. Adverbial clause makes sentence richer by providing additional context and description that the standard adverbs cannot. Okay, like he bakes cakes weekly. Or eagerly, my brother agreed to the business proposal. So as you can see in the example, adverbial clause can appear at any point in a sentence. You can see the first one that appear at the end of a sentence and the second one at the beginning of a sentence. But you can find another examples with the clause in the middle. So you can find some sentence with a different placement at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of the sentence. Every part of the speeches or every kind of phrase and clause is a tool designed for a specific purpose. When you need to write a such sentence, use an adverb. When you need more information, use an adverbial clause to key information. Okay? And the other important point that you can find in the reading, it's about the components of an adverbial clause. In this case, an adverb clause has a number of essential components. And many adverb clauses also have objects. But in this case, you can find a subject, a predicate, and subordinating conjunction. Okay? So, So an adverbial clause, also known as an adverb clause, is a verb of word, as you know. And adverbial clause contain a subject, a predicate, and subordinating conjunction. And as with other adverbs, adverb clause modify an adjective adverb or another adverb. So the adverb clause explains time, place, purpose, and more in a sentence. This clause begins with a trigger word, okay? More formally known in English grammar as a subordinating conjunction. And what is a subordinating conjunction? Since the adverb clause are dependent clause, they must have a subordinating conjunction that connects them to the rest of the sentence. So being able to spot a subordinating conjunction will help you recognize an adverb clause. It's the main function of the subordinating conjunction. Okay, so now let me share with you the first video for the class as a reinforce. So let me share with you the video.
Verb clauses. Easy peasy. Hey guys, I'm Carrie. In this video, you'll be learning all you need to know about adverb clauses. An adverb clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. An adverb clause tells how, when, where, why, to what extent, or under what condition. For example, Donna sounds as if she has caught a cold. The adverb clause, as if she has caught a cold, modifies the verb sounds, telling how Donna sounds. Another example. Before he left, he washed the dishes. The adverb clause before he left modifies the verb washed, telling when he washed the dishes. Another example. You will see our house where the road turns right. The adverb clause where the road turns right modifies the verb will see, telling where you will see our house. An additional example. Will you move so that I can see? The adverb clause so that I can see modifies the verb will move, telling why you will move. Another example. Your stereo is louder than it should be. The adverb clause than it should be modifies the adjective louder, telling to what extent the stereo is louder. Another example. Andre can type faster than anyone else in his computer class can. The adverb clause than anyone else in his computer class can modifies the adverb faster, telling to what extent Andre can type faster. An additional example. As long as he starts early, he will arrive on time. The adverb clause as long as he starts early modifies the verb will arrive, telling under what condition he will arrive on time. Notice in the last example given that an adverb clause that begins a sentence is followed by a comma. Subordinating conjunctions. An adverb clause is introduced by a subordinating conjunction, a word that shows the relationship between the adverb clause and the word or words that the clause modifies. Unlike a relative pronoun which introduces an adjective clause, a subordinating conjunction does not serve a grammatical function in the clause it introduces. Here is a list of common subordinating conjunctions. And tricks. Some of the words that introduce adverb clauses may also introduce adjective clauses and noun clauses. To determine what kind of clause the introductory word begins, look at how the clause is used in the sentence. For example, adjective clause. The day when we got our puppy was a Friday. The clause when we got our puppy modifies the noun day, and for that reason it's an adjective clause telling what kind of day it was. Here's an example of the subordinating conjunction when being used in a noun clause. Does Zane remember when we got our puppy? The clause when we got our puppy is the direct object of the verb remember. And for that reason, when introduces a noun clause. Here is a look at when being used in an adverb clause. Our older dog sulked a little when we got our puppy. The clause when we got our puppy modifies the verb sulked. And for that reason, when we got our puppy is an adverb clause. See the difference? Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out my other cool videos. Like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in
Okay, so components of a verbal clause or part of a component that is composed by a subject. It's important to remember what is a subject. A subject is a person or thing that is doing something in the cloud. It answers questions like who or what. And the subject can be pronoun in noun phrase or even the verb. Okay? And the, the predicate tell us what the subject does. Can be a verb or verb phrase or objects or modifiers. Okay. So as we can hear or as we can see in the video, the conjunction, the subordinated conjunction or the trigger words in this case, or as you can maybe can see with this option, it must adverb clause begin with the conjunction or trigger word and set the context of the sentence, and it can indicate the time, place, manner, and condition. And use the upper clause are called subordinating conjunction, as you can see in the video, and therefore called subordinated clause or dependent clause. And in the case of the time, you can find some important words like when, after, before, until, since, while, once, as soon as, and the reasons for the upper clause of reason, because, since, as, so, condition, if, unless, manner, like, as, comparison, as, or more than, or less than, and the position, I thought, even if, or while. So, okay. So, information. So can I mention two different important aspects of the reading? That is about the adverb clause versus adverb phrase. Okay, so when talking about clauses, it is important to know the difference between a clause and a phrase. So you can find some important information in the reading, and you can find that the clause always has a subject, who or what, and predicate what the subject holds. Okay, and and an adverbial clause is similar to, in the case of adverbial clause, okay, it's similar but not the same as an adverbial phrase, okay, but are types of words that play the upper role but with one key difference. An adverbial clause contains a subject and adverb, while an adverbial phrase does not. And adverb phrase, as you can hear in the previous information, and it's a group of words that those words that have an adverb that is modified a verb. And like an adverb, the phrase answers the question how, when, or where. For example, can I mention Mary is coming now? That means it's an adverb. And the other one, Mary is coming at this moment. So you can find the adverb phrase here. And in the case of adverb clause, that you know is a group of words which contains subject, predicate, or adjunct, but it cannot stand alone as a full sentence. It does the work of an adverb. For example, you may sit anywhere, that means it's an adverb, and you may sit wherever you like. That completes the adverb phrase. So the adverb phrase can be replaced by adverb clause without any change in meaning. So for this part of the reading, I have a video about the one of this case. So let me share the case with you. Wait me some seconds, please.
Do you know the difference between an adverb clause and an adjective clause? Stick around and let's find out. Let's look at what they both have in common. They're both dependent clauses that have subjects and verbs. They modify other words in a sentence, and they can be essential or non-essential. However, adverb clauses modify verbs, adjectives or other adverbs, and answer how, when, where, why, how often, how much, to what extent, and under what condition, while adjective clauses modify nouns or pronouns and answer what kind, how many, which, or whose. Adverb clauses start with subordinating conjunctions like when, while, where, as, since, if, although, and because. On the other hand, adjective clauses start with relative pronouns like who, which, that, whose, and whom. Now let's practice finding adverb and adjective clauses in sentences. Do you see the adverb clause or the adjective clause in the sentence below? The relative pronoun is who, and the clause is who ran the stop sign, so we have an adjective clause. Do you see the adverb or adjective clause in the sentence below? since is a subordinating conjunction, and the clause is since I lost my wallet. So we have an adverb clause here. Keep up the good work. Make sure that you hit like or subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos.
Okay. Okay, in the case of the adverb clause and adjective clause, now we have learned how to talk about the real clause and adverbial phrases. It's time to continue with the next part, okay? Adjective clause are dependent clause that modify nouns or pronouns, just like with adverbial clause. When trying to identify adjective clauses, and important to determine what kind of questions the clause answers. Adjective clause describe nouns or a noun phrase by answering a question, which or what type of. And another distinctive feature of adjective clause is that you can move them in a sentence without ruining the grammatical structures of the sentence. With adverbial clauses, this is usually not a problem and the position in the sentence can be changed fairly easily. Okay? So when you move the adjective clause, the sentence usually makes no sense. This is actually an easy way to determine whether the clause you are analyzing is an adjective clause or an adverbial clause. If you are not sure, you try moving the clause around the sentence, and with the adjective clauses, you will immediately notice that the sentence becomes worse. And with the adverbial clause, you can normally move the clause without too much trouble. Okay. Okay. And it's in subordinate clause that is used as an adjective to modify a noun or pronoun like adjective clauses. Answer the question. Okay. And they are introduced by a relative pronoun such as that, who, whose, and which, or relative adverbs such as when, where, and why. And adverb clause is a subordinate clause that is used as an adverb to modify a verb, adjective, or adverb. Adverb clauses are usually introduced by a subordinating conjunction such as after, because, if, then, until, and where. Okay. So, can I mention some adverb clauses in a sentence, some examples? So it's important that that you know that if you can move adverb clause in a sentence fairly easily, it's important, right? You can put adverb clause in the beginning, middle, or end of a sentence. So you can find in the video some examples that show you how to move or the different position of the adverb in a sentence. So you can find at the beginning of a sentence, at the middle of a sentence, and at the end of a sentence. And at the beginning of a sentence, adverb placed at the beginning of the clause are often separated by a comma. The comma is obligatory after however, in fact, or therefore, or nevertheless, moreover, for more, and still. For example, unfortunately, comma, this summer is particularly hot. And the case of the middle of the sentence, there are two positions next to the adverb or the middle sentence. That is a curve that changes in form depending on the number of the subject and also the tense. Immediately before the after the verb, in which of the two positions that adverb will appear depends on the verb. For example, this summer is usually hot in Canada. And the placement of adverbs with respect to the verb to have depends on whether to have is using auxiliary verb, part of the verb complex, or as a main verb, standing alone and main pauses. When it is an auxiliary, the adverb follows it. When it's a main verb, the adverb precedes it. And in the case of the end of the sentence, the adverb that must frequently appear at the end of a sentence are, in the case of adverbs of frequency, like usually, normally, often, frequently, sometimes, occasionally. And in the case of adverb of manner, like answering questions like how, and for example, slowly, quickly, badly, and silently. And the adverb of time, today, already, last week, this year. For example, the summer is very hot usually. And some adverbs cannot be less in a sentence. And these are the same adverbs that cannot come first, like always, ever, rarely, seldom, and never. Okay. So with this information, can I share with you the first activity for today? Okay. So let me share with you the questions that you need to solve with me here in the class for today. Okay, let me find the page. Okay. So when you, I don't know if you have the time to see the video for the next class, you can bring me some different answers for those questions. But today, I'm going to develop with the information that can I find in the reading. Okay. So if you have the opportunity to take a screenshot or write and bring me the solution for the next class, that's great for me. Okay. Okay. So the first one. What is an adverbial clause? So as you can hear in the videos and information that I bring here today, adverbial clause is a group of words that together function as an adverb. That means that the clause describes or modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb, and involves some different important information. And adverbial clause is always a penal clause. Okay, so that means that it cannot stand on its own as an independent sentence. Okay, what are the components of an adverbial clause? Okay. So you know that the components of adverbial clause means that is a number or the essential information that is composed by this information. So can I mention the subject, predicate, and subordinating inside? this kind of components of an adverbial clause. And what is a conjunction? What is a conjunction? A conjunction is a word or phrase that connect words, phrases, clauses, and sentences together. The word is a commonly used example of a conjunction. Okay, but basically, it's a connection that you can find between the words, phrases, clauses, and sentences that are together. Okay, what is a predicate? A predicate in English as a word. It's a complete sentence or clause that requires two parts, an action and a person or thing that's performing the action. So with the stop to describe who is on the action and the predicate describe the action itself. So along with the subject, predicates are a necessary part of an English sentence structure. What is a subject? The subject of a sentence is a person, place, thing, or idea that is performing the action. Okay, and the two different cases, adverb clause versus adverb phrase. So the main important things between the different cases, the two different cases, it's important to know that the clause is similar, so it's not, but not the same in this case as an adverbial phrase. The both cases, the words that they play the adverb role, but with one key difference. An adverbial clause contains the subject and a verb, and while a adverbial phrase does not. So in the case of adverb phrase or adverbial phrase, cause the word of an adverb that is modified the verb. So in the case of adverb phrase, it's important to know that the modifier verb, okay? And the case of adverb clause, it's important to know that it contains a subject and a predicate of its own, but it cannot stand alone as a full sentence. So it does hold the word can adverb. And the case of adverb clause versus adjective clause, and the case of an adjective clause, that is use an adjective to modify a noun or pronoun, like adjective, adjective clause, answer the questions, which one, what kind, how much, or how many, and they're introduced very related pronouns such as that, who, whom, whose, and which, or relative adverbs such as when, where, and why. And in the case of an adverb clause, it's important to know that it's subordinate clause that is used as an adverb to modify a verb adjective of an adverb. And the adverb clause are usually introduced by subordinating conjunctions such as after, because, if, then, until, and where. Okay. So wait a 1 second. Okay. So you can find in the reading some examples of adverb clause in sentence. And you can find some important information about the adverb clause that in different sentences fairly easily. You can put adverb clause in the beginning, middle, or end of a sentence. So, as you know, right, it's important. It's important concept inside the reading. And it's important to mention the different type of adverb clauses. Okay? So, okay, the adverb clause come in many different forms. Each of this form is characterized by the nature of the information the clause is communicating. Okay? And for example, you can find the different types. So let me mention first. The adverb clause of time, of place, condition, manner, reason, ethics, comparison, concession or contrast, and purpose. Okay? So the first one is adverbial clause of manner. An adverbial clause of manner describes how the action described in a sentence. Main clauses taking place or previously took place. And these adverbial clauses often used as or like to explain how something is done. For example, you can find the first sentence. He talked to me like I was a child. So you can see all the sentences, the whole sentence. And in this part, you can find the manner of a sentence, okay? Like I was a child, okay? So the second one, okay. Adverbial clause of place. Adverbial clause of place describe where the action in a sentence main clause takes place and use the three words like where, wherever, and everywhere. For example, you can find the sentence number 2. I'm not sure where she lives. So you can find all the sentence here. And in blue, you can find the clause of place, where she lives. Okay. Number 3, adverbial clause of condition. Conditional adverb clause play out the potential outcomes of a situation and use subordinating conjunctions such as if, provide that, unless, and lest. With an adverbial clause of condition, you can communicate the conditions relate to the verb, adverb, or adjective in a sentence main clause. For example, you can find the sentence number 3. I only watch TV if my favorite show is on. So you can find the condition here. Okay, if my favorite show is on. Okay, number 4. Number 4, adverbial clause of reason. Adverbial clause of reason tell us the reason for the action being taken in the sentence main clause. This clause generally use subordinating conjunctions like because, unless, and since, and in general the adverbial clause of reason explains the why using different subordinating conjunctions. For example, for example, um, I listen to the classical music because it sounds beautiful. So you can find the reason here. Because it sounds pure. Disculpen, hubo una fluctuación y se fue el internet. Espera.
Tranquila, profe.
Ok, ahorita. Okay, so in the case of the adverbial clause of time, and adverbs in time often contain the words until, after, as long as, while, when, whenever, before, and since. Answer when something happens and communicate when the action in a sentence takes place. For example, I stopped running when I saw my friend. Okay, so you can find the time period. Okay, when I saw my friend. The other important information is about the adverbial clause of purpose. So this adverb clause highlights the intention behind an action, often using conjunctions such as so that, lest you, in order to, and in case. This adverbial clause do not follow a comma, as in the sentence, and explain the reasons to say any specific action. For example, walk carefully lest you should fall. Okay. In the case of comparison, adverbial clause of comparison are clauses that communicate how the subject of the dependent clause compares to the subject in the main clause. Can I mention two types of adverbial clause of comparison? Adverbial clause of comparison of degree and manner. And this adverbial clause highlight quality and quantity with conjunctions like then and as. For example, my brother is older than he looks. Than he looks. And the case of adverbial clause of concession. In adverbial clause of concession, the writing knowledge or admits a factor that modifies the main clause and the concession adverb clause with have a comma separating two independent clauses that contrast one. Okay, so they usually begin with a that, even if, even though, while, or whereas. And for example, I enjoyed the meal, comma, but it was expensive. Okay. And the last one, adverbial clause of cause and effect. Adverb clause of cause and effect indicate why something happened. They start with an adverb such as because, since, and so that or that. For example, the meal was so delicious that we made it again the next day. Okay, so you can see the example about the adverbial clause. So now let me share with you a video that explain more about this kind of adverb. So let me share with you, okay? Wait me some seconds.
Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Let's learn with Vidya. Friends, in last video we have seen about clauses. There are two types of clauses, main clause and subordinate clause. From that subordinate clause we have seen noun clause, adjective clause and adverb clause. In this video we are going to see in detail about the types of adverb clauses. So let's see. There are total 8 types of adverb clauses. First, adverb clause of time. Second, adverb clause of place. Third, adverb clause of purpose. Fourth, adverb clause of reason. Fifth, adverb clause of condition. Sixth, adverb clause of consequence. Seventh, adverb clause of comparison. And the last one is adverb clause of supposition, or we can say concession. So let's see one by one about each type of adverb clause in detail. So let's see the first one, adverb clause of time. Adverb clause of time. So adverb clause of time states when something happens or how happens, and it answers the question when it is asked to the verb in the main clause. For example, see, example is given below. Rajveer entered the hall after the party was over. So here Rajveer entered the hall. This is the main clause. So in this main clause, verb is entered, and when you are going to ask that verb question starting with when, you are getting answer, and the answer is your adverb clause of time. For it, let's see how it is. So Rajveer entered the hall. When did Rajveer enter the hall? So your answer is after the party was over. So here it shows the time. So it's a adverb clause of time. This adverb clause of time often starts with one of the following subordinating conjunctions. Just like here in this example, Rajveer entered the hall after the party was over. We are having subordinate conjunction, that is after. So this adverb clause of time started with the conjunction after. So like this adverb clauses of time often start with conjunctions whenever, while, after, before, since, when, as soon as, till, as long as, no sooner than, until, etc. With these subordinating conjunctions, the adverb clause of time starts. So let's see the second type of adverb clause, that is adverb clause of place. Adverb clause of place states where something happen, about place, where something or particular thing is happen, about that adverb clause tells us. This adverb clause answers the question where when it is asked to the verb in main clause. Let's see the example. I have kept it where I can find it again. So in this sentence, I have kept it is a main clause, and where I can find it again, it's a subordinate clause. So when we are going to ask question with where to the verb in main clause, we will get a adverb clause of place. For example, I have kept it. So here verb is kept. So where does I kept that? So where I can find it again, it's my answer. So this is the adverb clause of place, which states where something happened. And this adverb clause of place often starts with preposition, for example in, on, near, or subordinating conjunctions like anywhere, where, wherever, etc. Just like in this sentence, our adverb clause of place is starting with the subordinating conjunction, that is where. So let's see the next type of a adverb clause, that is adverb clause of purpose. So this adverb clause of purpose answers the question for what purpose when it is asked to the verb in the main clause. Again, in that sentence, main clause verb, if we ask the question for what purpose, then what answer we will get, that is our adverb clause of purpose. See the example, I will open the gate so that you can enter. So now here I will open the gate, it's a main clause, and so that you can enter, it's a subordinate clause. So as I said you, if we ask the question to main clause verb for what purpose, then we will get the answer, and that answer is our adverb clause of purpose. Let's see. For what purpose I will open the gate? So answer is so that you can enter. So like this, it answers the question for what purpose when it is asked to the verb in the main clause. So let's see the next type of adverb clause, that is adverb clause of reason. This adverb clause of reason answers the question why when it is asked to the verb in the main clause. Again, in the main clause verb, if we ask the question with why, then we are getting the adverb clause of reason. For example, see, he think he can get anything because he is rich. So here he think he can get anything is main clause. Because he is rich, it's a subordinate clause. So in this main clause verb, if we ask the question why, then our answer is our adverb clause of reason. So what is the main clause here? He think he can get anything. Why did he think he can get anything? Like this question I asked. Think is a verb over here. Why did he think he can get anything? So answer is because he is rich. So this is our adverb clause of reason. Here it tells the reason behind that getting anything, because he is rich. So here because he is rich, it's an adverb clause of reason. So let's see the next one. Adverb clause of condition. This adverb clause of condition states the condition for the main idea to come into effect, and it often starts with subordinating conjunctions like whether, if, as, unless, etc. For example, see, if the book interests me, I shall read it. So now here it states the condition. If the book interests me, it's a condition, then I shall read it. So adverb clause of condition states the condition for the main idea to come into effect. If the book interests me, then only I can read it. I shall read it. Means it's a condition over here. The book should be interest me. The book should be interesting. So it's a adverb clause of condition. If the book interests me. So let's see the next adverb clause, that is adverb clause of result or consequence, we can say for that. So this adverb clause of result or consequence answers the question how when it is asked to the adjective in the main clause. So now see, before the clauses, adverb clauses we have seen, in that we are asking the question to the main clauses verb. But now here when we are learning about the adverb clause of result or consequence, we are asking the question how to the main clause adjective. You need to ask the question to main clause adjective with the how, and then what answer you will get, that is your adverb clause of result or consequence. For example, see, the example is given already. The storm was so terrible that very few people survived. So now here the storm was so terrible, it's main clause, that very few people survived, it's a subordinate clause. So now what you have to do, you have to ask question with how to the main clause adjective. So now what is the adjective over here in the main clause? The storm was so terrible. So terrible is the adjective which tells more information about the storm, which modifies that noun storm. That word is terrible, that is the adjective from this main clause, terrible. So you need to ask question with how to that adjective. So the storm was so terrible that very few people survived. We are having the storm was so terrible main clause, and that very few people survived, it's subordinate clause. So as I said you earlier, you need to ask question to main clause adjective with how. So here in this main clause, the storm was so terrible, adjective is terrible which modifies the noun storm over here. So you need to ask question with how to the terrible. So what should be your question? How terrible was the storm? So you will get answer that very few people survived. So that very few people survived is an adverb clause of result, or we can say consequence. So these all adverb clause of result or consequence are started with conjunction that. So let's see the next type, that is adverb clause of comparison. So in this type we are having two types. First one is adverb clause of comparison of degree, and second one is adverb clause of comparison of manner. So let's see first one, that is adverb clause of comparison of degree. In this adverb clause of comparison of degree, it states to what degree something is done or offers a comparison, up to what degree. Okay, so subordinating conjunctions which used in this adverb clause of comparison of degree, that are than and as. For example is given, Ram works harder than Sham. So here conjunction than is used over here to show the adverb clause of comparison of degree, because here comparison is in between two person Ram and Sham, that Ram works harder than Sham. So here than Sham, it's an adverb clause of comparison which start with the subordinating conjunction, that is than. So let's see the another type, that is adverb clause of comparison of manner. At first we have seen about degree, now it's manner. So this adverb clause of comparison of manner states how something is done, in which way something is done, the manner of that thing. And this subordinating conjunction which used in this adverb clause of comparison of manner, that is as, like, the way. See the example, she acts like it is a joke. So here it states how something is done, she acts like it is a joke. So here like is a conjunction with this adverb clause of comparison of manner starts, and we are getting here like it is a joke as a adverb clause of manner. Next, as you have booked the tickets, you may go. So now here something is done already, that is you booked the tickets. So as you have booked the tickets, you may go. So as you have booked the ticket is the adverb clause of manner which states something is done. So let's see the next one, that is adverb clause of supposition, or we can say concession. So this adverb clause of supposition or concession offers a statement which contrasts with the main idea, which is completely different, or we can say contrast with the main idea. This adverb clause of supposition often starts with one of the following subordinate conjunctions like though, although, while, whereas, even if. So with these subordinating conjunctions, mostly our adverb clause of supposition or concession is started. Example C, even if it rains, we will go. So now here rain is coming, then also we will go. So here contrast idea is given. Even if it rains, we will go. Second one is, although he worked all day, he attended the party at night. So he is very tired, then also he attended the party. So here it shows adverb clause of concession or supposition, that is, although he worked all day. So here the conjunctions used, that is although, and in first example the conjunction which is used, that is even. So in first sentence, even if it rains is an adverb clause of supposition, and in second sentence, although he worked all day, it's an adverb clause of supposition.
Okay, with all the information that you can hear in the videos and in the reading and here in the class, you need to mention the type of adverb class. So the type of our class, the adverb class, it's all the information that you received previous in the last video. So the type of adverb clause are the time, place, condition, manner, cause, reason, effect, comparison, concession, or supposition, and purpose. Okay. So in the case of the adverb clause time tell us about when something happened, and we can use the conjunctions like when, whenever, before, after, as, while, until, as soon as, and since. And can I mention some examples? Examples like I'll do my homework before I go back to school. Before I go back to school. In the case of adverbial clause of place, they tell us about where something happens to. And you can use the conjunctions like where, wherever, and everywhere. So can I say it, for example, wherever I go, I always see a McDonald's restaurant. Okay? Wherever I go, I always see a McDonald's restaurant. In the case of adverbial clause of condition, tell us about the circumstance under which something happens. Their clause often begins with if, unless, or provide that. For example, you can play the game, provide that you follow the rules. Okay, provide that you follow the rules. In the case of the class of manners, show us how something happens. They usually begins with the conjunctions like as, thought, or as if. So, in example, can I say that he talked to me like I was a child? Okay. In the case of the adverbial clause of reason, this clause is used to show why something happens. This clause begin with the conjunctions because, can, and as. Okay. For example, since you are so kind to me, I will help you. Since you are so kind to me, I will help you. In this case, because it's more common in informal conversations than since or as. Okay. In the case of adverbial clause or effect, tell us about consequence, and they often begin with so that or such that. Okay, we usually put an adjective between so and that. So, for example, I was so tired that I couldn't stay awake. I was so tired that I couldn't stay awake. And we can put an adjective and a noun or just a noun between such and that. For example, she is such a good runner that nobody can catch her. She is such a good runner that nobody can catch her. And the case of the adverbial clause of comparison are used to compare things or ideas. They often begins with the conjunctions then or as, okay? For example, she is as beautiful as she is smart. She is as beautiful as she is smart, okay? And the case of the adverbial clause of contrast or concession describe contrasting statements or circumstances despite which something's happened. They usually begin with all that, thought, even if, even thought, who are, or whereas. And for example, I thought it rained. I thought it rained. They enjoyed their walk. And the last case is about the class, the purpose. Show why something is happening, the intent of the result, okay? And we can use so that, lest, and in order that. For example, okay, he took off his shoes so that he would not ruin the carpet. He took off his shoes so that he would not ruin the carpet. Okay? So, in conclusion, adverbial clause, as you know, are dependent clause that modify the main verb. They always start with a subordinating conjunction and must connect to an independent clause to make sense and create incomplete sentence and adverbial clause. And answer of one of the 4 questions that maybe you can do, for example, where, when, how, and why. Okay, it's the main information. And you can find in the reading some important aspects about the what is an adverb clause, components of an adverbial clause, subject and predicate, conjunction or trigger words, adverb clause versus adverb phrase, and adverb clause versus adjective clause. Example of adverb clause in sentence, adverb clause at the beginning of a sentence, at the middle of a sentence, and examples of adverb clause at the end of a sentence. And the most important information is about the type of adverb clause. So if you have the time to read information, that's great, because it'll help you to reinforce all the information that you receive here in the class. Okay? So remember that you need to complete all the assignments in the platform, and you need to complete all the forms. If you have any doubt or any question, you can write in the forum of consultations, and or any other problem that you have. If you have some problem with the platform, you can write to the tech support number that is in the platform, or put in the forum of consultations. Okay. So remember, if you have any doubt or any questions, put in the forum. Okay. So I think that is all for today. Have a nice weekend, and see you the next class.
Profe, muchísimas gracias. Feliz noche a todos. Que descansen. Gracias, profe.